It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you about BIM360 solutions for construction for both quality and safety. I'm Allan Chalmers. My role at Autodesk is as a senior technical sales specialist in the cloud platform, specifically in and around the construction industry and the cloud offerings and applications that connect to the cloud. Today's webinar is going to be about a general mix of what construction safety and quality with our platform is about. I'm going to show you through some of the platform itself, but we're going to go through some very top reasons why you would consider this as being the platform for the future of construction. As you'd be well aware, the market is rapidly changing. Autodesk have put a focus onto the future of construction, and we are working to connect people to our platform to improve quality, safety, and bring people's attention to the fact that using the tool sets we have on offer, we'll be able to move towards industrialized construction in a safe and orderly manner and improve the welfare and the quality of deliverables. And at the moment, it's a fairly contentious issue in Australia. There's a lot of quality issues in the construction space which are being questioned. There are buildings where some of the process that's been engaged to create them and check them as they've been created has been at risk, and some of what we're going to go through today is really specifically around how we can use our platform to work safely and to work smart with BIM360 as a connector. So we're going to talk about how time, budgets, making sure that issues are resolved, design coordination is completed, and then empowering people in various locations through the process to either preemptively see safety and quality hazards, to mitigate the risk before it becomes obviously a problem to the project itself, but most importantly, making sure people get home during the day. So it's a really important part of what we do in terms of how the work that we empower people to do can change both the outcomes and the safety profile for other people. So when you look at safety in construction, the question is, where does it affect? The answer to that question is that through all of the areas of construction, from the business development side right the way through to commissioning and handover, there are safety elements. We're going to look at BIM360 from not the construction and coordination, nor from the quantification point of view, but more from field execution and the safety and the feedback loops that are capable of being created from an Android and an iOS platform as the platform is used to enhance the connectivity of people. So let's look at, from left to right, we have business development, construction modeling, coordination, quantification, planning, logistics, detailed design. Fabrication now is becoming a very high profile area of industrialized construction. As I said before, field execution is what we're going to focus on today with the Build product. And of course, layout and verification, commissioning and handover are next step on from that process in itself. Equally, when you look at quality, you probably noticed that on the slide, the safety and the quality ones don't change. So safety and quality affect every portion of a project. They are pivotal to the success of it, and our efforts at Autodesk are to improve the quality profile through working towards engagement with stakeholders from one source of truth. So have a look at the BIM360 construction delivery process. So we have all sorts of things that are impacting business at the moment. And I like this graphic on the right here because it shows things like increased productivity, right time, right place, information that's connecting our people. But it also makes sense that if you look through the chain, operational process, quality and safety, pre-construction, all of facets which have vast areas potentially for improvement as we move forward in the next phase of digital delivery with the BIM360 cloud platform. So we're very excited about putting new workflows in, controlling documentation, enhancing the review process, and allowing people to basically design better and have better outcomes with less risk and with a greater certainty on both cost analysis, safety analysis, risk analysis, operational process being repeated as is required for next lift of safety models, quality models being repeated. So let's have a look at the platform itself. The platform is in itself an expansion services-based software as a service platform, which is predominantly focused around project data. And you'll see in this picture here, we have Autodesk Forge sitting underpinning. Now the Autodesk Forge portion is a series of programming interfaces which underpins and connects the whole platform together. The project data is the richness of the information that's added to it, whether it be drawings, whether it be quality documents, whether it be check sheets or checklists or commissioning documents, and analytics and insight, which is a growing and expanding area in which we've focused heavily for preparing, and it has a very strong context in quality and safety. As most engineering processes, most construction processes go, measured results are often backed up with data sets from known issues, known quality work that can be analysed and repeated. So these new platforms we're looking at in field execution enhance the analytics and the insight portion, enhancing the coordination of the work, thus improving the quality, safety, progress tracking. So this is an overall picture of what we've got. Most people and most of our clients are probably well and truly familiar with the design portion. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the design side. It's not the subject matter for the day. I'm going to speak directly to field execution and show you through the next portions of how this data explosion leads you to what we do with improving quality in construction. So if you have a look at the left-hand side of the page, you'll see from bottom to top, we have a whole range of things that are happening at the moment. So we have a lot of activities that are basic 101 type things that we take in our stride. And if you look at the right-hand side of the future of making and today, what you'll see in construction management is we have many of our customers, and I'm sure some of you people are in this box perhaps at different phases. We have those customers who are paper-based and are yet to move, yet to engage the digital processes of BIM360 and cloud platforms. And then we have some others who have already made an initial move to digital and are looking for next steps. And part of this webinar is aimed at providing some insight as to where this product is placed to allow you to scale. So this matrix quality bucket is for improved quality execution. So from the bottom where you've got no systems in place, where you've got paper and paper drawings, we move to digital. Then we start looking at the analytics. We do a basic analysis, reporting, and then we look at the platform in terms of its sense of where else what can we do for maximizing value, and then you look at the top of that chain and we go to artificial intelligence, predictive analytics. But we need to take some reasonably linear steps to get through from the bottom to the top. And as you can see on the left again, you have early warning systems at the top. You have smart, some of our partners on our platforms for advanced BIM workflows. What this diagram is advocating is a step process, and I'm going to take you through some of the dashboard reporting and templating portions of this in the session today to show you how, even though you may not get to the future of making in a very short period of time, the objective here is to take your business for a journey and to put this platform in place with templates and checklists and punch lists, etc., to actually start to control your safety and quality process. So I flicked very quickly there to the safety bucket, and you'll see again, this slide's all about the same net result. The differential is one was safety focused and one was quality focused, but essentially the journey is the same. So we're going to work towards getting reports and templates and information into one common platform, one place to share, where people can reliably consume, they can actively participate in the process, and then we can collate and measure and manage the outcomes from the platform, hence improving both the safety and the quality outcomes overall. So we're really looking at a single source of truth. We're looking at managing a whole set of documentation. And again, I reflect back to this concept of publishing and sharing and viewing and managing. We're, in this particular webinar, focused on the manage portion of it predominantly. Obviously, putting and sharing documents in the right spot is absolutely fundamental 101, but it's not particularly the focus of the webinar today. So as we move through, I'll go through the platform before we jump in and do some examples and have a look at the context of the products. So this is the full BIM360 platform, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes here to explain it so that people can have an understanding of what and how this platform is placed. So as I started in my opening statement, it is a software as a service based platform. We have BIM360 docs underpinning all of our products. So from each of our vertical products, we have a data management component and a document management component, which is basically inbuilt in each. Now, in the case of what we're going to do today, we're going to ignore the left-hand side and we're going to focus on the Build, BIM360 Builder product, which is the quality and safety for BIM360 Build. So we're looking at predominantly the field management element along with the document management and insight analytics and some of the new panels and new dashboards that we've been adding into the product to allow our customers to engage with their data sets and make analytical type decisions from all of the metrics that are returned. Now, one thing that's a very important aspect of this is that it doesn't and hasn't up until now been considered a product that can be engaged by multiple stakeholders. And by that, I'm reflecting at design documents, predominantly 2D and 3D documents that have been in the hands of design teams and are actually issued out deliberately at certain times, to the most part excluding some of the senior teams. The intention with BIM360 Build, the field management, project management and document management, and particularly the insight panel, is to empower people to actually engage the whole process, whether they be a general manager, whether they be a construction manager, whether they be a fabricator, or someone who's executing the work in the field. So we'll move into the body of what I've decided to share with you today in our webinar, and take you through the mechanisms and the approach of how you would set up Build and use the templates and the management of the account to further enhance your project delivery, but most importantly, set yourself up to succeed. So when you look at the project administration panel in BIM360, you have, from the very top left diagram there, you have a project home. So you have the project home sits here. We have the insight panels here and the document management part. Now that is essentially the core functionality in the document management area. We're going to be focused on the field management component here, which is referred to as Build. And we're also going to look at the field management account admin. Now, each of these sites has an overarching account administrator, and each of the projects can subsequently be managed by that overarching account administrator. To that account, you bring certain services. Now, the right-hand side of the screen that you're looking at here are the field management templates that underpin the safety and the quality portion of BIM360. So on the extreme right-hand side here, you'll see things like the punch lists, the safety checklists, the safety site clean. Now, all of these templates can be prepared as an end user. So if you have a specific need to prepare or create a template for a checklist or a punch list, depending on what your business is engaged in, you can, and we will walk through that in a second. The field management side of it allows us to move through on the hub and create in the case of this safety site clean, a global template for safety that is able to be rolled out across all of our projects, facilitating the same action to be carried out on all the work. So as we move forward, you will see on our AZ Hub, which is the one I'm using here, I've made a note that this template that I'm about to do was made on an iPad, not using the Chrome browser. And the reason I've differentiated it here is to allow you to understand that the platform can be used by people administrating it in the office, and it can equally be moved into the site areas, a site hut or a site office or a field environment where people can participate in setting this up on the fly. So it's not a lock and set and forget from a quality and safety template perspective. So as we go through here, you're about to see me create the first of the interfacing templates. So as I go through, you'll see, just go back a step, actually, let us make sure that so the field management template here is going to be imported from an existing template. Now we have a spreadsheet system where you can actually download a sample file and add for bulk upload, if you will. So in this particular case, this is a project safety walk. So we're going to actually import that through into here and then bring the template up and into a position where we can publish. So it goes off and publishes to a resource that's now sitting, as you can see, at the root of the site. So that's the Autodesk AZ top level. Once this is in place, I have the luxury of pushing it out. Now, once the templates are positioned for use, they can be instanced down, creating checklists for various purposes during the execution of the particular project. And as noted, you can come back and add more checklists as you go, you can add more templates at any portion of the journey through the project. So in this particular case here, we're actually starting to use our safety site clean. So it's been created, it's a safety type, and it's a global template that would be repeatedly used from one project to another, as opposed to one that was just created specifically at the time. Pointing out that there's no instances of it as yet, and there's 2 items on that. So we go through here, and you'll see that we can go in and edit a copy of it. And when we move towards editing and creating this checklist, we're basically creating the first instance. And up the right there, you'll see the site list has been created. And this one can be retitled. It can be given a particular date. In this case, it's just got a generic title on it. So now I'm looking at the right-hand details. I'm looking at who is actually going to be assigned this role to execute this. If I need to export it or archive it at a later point, I have the facility to do that. We have groups, users, roles within standard construction activities, which allow us to be able to nominate site-based people, individuals, to actually execute. Now, this is taking it away from the Chrome browser interface and actually moving it to how this checklist we've just created would actually execute in the field. So both Android and iOS are available. It's an app from both the applicable stores. They vary slightly due to the fact that Android and iOS platforms vary in their nature, but essentially the workflows are much the same in terms of mobility and field execution. So this next portion is actually opening up and following this template through to completion. So here I am on my iPad, and I'm going to access this checklist. So you can see there's a range of different checklists sitting in the stack there, and I can filter these by type or who has assigned to them, whether they've been started or whether they're not started yet. In the case of our safety clean that we just created, you'll see this is the interface that is completed by the end user. So the end user has the ability to add notes. So once the task is cleared, they can do this on their iPhone or they can do it on an iPad. In this case, as I was suggesting, it's an iPad delivery. So each of these small subsections is ticked off and completed, and then the checklist is completed accordingly and can be recycled time and time again. So it can be, in this case, it could be a 101 form that you would use over and over again in all rooms or subsections of a construction site. And again, the quality and the safety focus here is that, in this case, it's a rubbish removal, which is always going to be a safety issue. So if we start to look at building a profile off why we're doing this and what this actually means in real terms for the delivery of safety and quality, we return back to controlling the document set. Now, what we've got fundamentally is one common source of data, one source of truth. And we control that source of truth by delivering it to a platform where we bring people to the information and we validate and qualify by review process, by adding permissions to folders, by making the activity visible to all stakeholders to improve the quality of information and the certainty of information moving to site. Probably the most important aspect of the build product, and especially in context of what we are building across the platform, mobile and web access. So lack of IT infrastructure overhead firewalls and existing difficulties getting to FTP servers rather, and proprietary, trusted networks can be democratized by using the BIM360 Docs login, giving you full capability of projects anywhere in the globe. So as you see with the long list, we have server costs, we have a trackable project, but for all stakeholders, it's really about empowering the project teams real time. It's about using one source of document data, and it's about validation with the outcomes and improvements rather in safety and quality being one of the key topics. It's not the singularity of what we're doing at Autodesk, but it is a very high portion of what the Build product in particular does. I'm just going to quickly move through this in terms of the document management. We touched on one source of truth before. In this particular interface, we have a folder structure, we have an issue, we have RFIs, we have the ability to have two separated areas for two different workflows, and they are explained. One is OCR type in the plans area. The project files, as it suggests, is a more generic area for specifications and controlling JPEGs and pictures and photographs and other various assets that you would find through the Build. But for each project, we have a permission base in each of the folders, which gives you a certainty for access level to be able to make sure that people who don't need to see the data don't see it, but most importantly, those consumers who only need to view it can be given adequate permission as well. So you can see among the mix of view and upload and edit, view, upload, edit and control, we have what is referred to as a low trust environment, where we can permission everything and give access to only people as they require specific need to have a document or a set of specifications. So underpinning it is a large model viewer which allows access to 40 plus files inside of the document viewing environment. So this is an example of the democratization of Revit files, and for construction people in particular, it engages non-design people in the field and on site and in other boardrooms and other places where they need to show customers information, rich data focused around the construction phasing, the quality issues, the safety issues, the review processes, issues around coordination and documentation, and of course the 2D document sets themselves natively. Now they can be 2D or 3D outputs, they can be PDFs, they can be Revit files or AutoCAD files, XREF files now. So it doesn't really matter whether you're fully engaged in 3D as yet. This is a journey, as I suggested in the first and primary slides. It's a journey from having perhaps only a paper-based system and making this transition to using this platform to actually start to work towards digitization of the construction site. So you can see here what we're going to be able to do is we're going to work with design issues, for example. Certainly measuring and comparing what changed from one file to the other, exporting reports, adding markups, and again, up in the top right-hand corner, you have an iOS and an Android access, which means you can do this on both a desktop computer inside an office or on a mobile platform, iPad, iPhone, Android device, to carry the data through. So I'm just going to quickly move through this. I'm a bit mindful of how we're going for time. We're still on track. So here is some illustrative examples of comparing sets of documents that have changed and doing a straight comparative between old version to new version, so people have a visual record of what was added or what was removed, and then some understanding of why perhaps. And it's all visually rich so that you can actually track through and understand the differential between what happened with the structural Revit file on the left to the structural Revit file at version 2 on the right hand side. Now we come to really the start of the build product and why and how its integration through unified issue management becomes very important. So we have issues on 2D and 3D documents. We have project-wide issues and color coding to identify, and then a dashboard to follow up and to visually communicate that information back. So the session here that you see is number coding in ID and type. So each of the issues can be coded against a particular design issue, modeling issue, pre-construction issue, for example, and can be traced and filtered and routed to the right people to action the documentation or change the design process to affect the change, hopefully, in the perfect world of a digital twin before that happens. So you have, for example, item 18 here, which was raised by my colleague Sam. So you have a design issue and you have a root cause availability for it and the ability to track it back in terms of its history. So we've got one source of information. We're not emailing, we're not chasing emails. If you need to know what happened specifically about this issue or this document, it's sitting on the document and it's fully traceable and fully visible. And it's visually rich on the drawing in both its markups and in the dots that you see with the issue number marked on there. Now these issues are unified across our clash detection modules, they're unified across our field-based modules, and they are very proficient at actually keeping your eye on the ball of what's actually happening. And in this case, you can see it's an issue about the doors in the way of the ducting. Something that no doubt everyone on the webinar is dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So as we move through this issues dashboard, we can filter, we can go back through and we can customize and look at this information in terms of its subtype, its location. So again, if you structure and go about the process of using Build to dissect the execution of your project, you're going to be able to use this tool in conjunction by having maybe just standard assets, but as you can see in the right-hand dialog box there, there's type, there's title, location, assignment, but equally there's also an ability to go through and add your own attributes as needed, and then ultimately export that data if you need to. So we can go through the process of actually creating them, attaching them to drawings, and then moving them out. And similarly, transmitting information to people is a core function in the quality and safety process, probably more important than is given kudos to at the moment. So officially, our platform can send and transmit workflows in an activity log. It allows you again to see who you're transmitting to, what date it was done. It can be given a number, and it can be traced by what files were sent. And you can come back retrospectively and find out who received them, when they were received, and in fact whether they were accessed at all. So there's a lot of benefit in having continuity of the files, knowing what's actually happening and who they've gone to and when they went. Document review is the same, so we can actually route document sets through both group review and multi-stage processes, so up to 6 stages of single step type approval, linear approval, which can be user defined, and you can define it back to people with the need to only touch the document and cast their eye over it, or you can route it directly to an engineering manager that needs to sign it off. So it's a very, very powerful way to then see and revisit the status. So you can see here in the icons, in the green icons there, where you have an approval. So you have a visual cue to the issue, and you have a visual cue to the sign-off of the document. So as you can see, the column is reflecting what's happening, which allows you to do retrospectively post-process reviews, looking and revisiting what went wrong. And again, this turns back to what Build is all about from a safety and quality perspective, which is analytics. It's also about, traceability. It's about accountability. And that's sadly missing in the existing either paper-based project processes or being able to work with document sets as we've got here. I'm going to quickly step through this. This is the most important portion of what the platform is positioned. History never lies is a terminology around reporting from the project admin side that gives you a full historical look at what's actually happened. So every time somebody logs in, every time a document is appended, there's a timestamp and there is an actionable item which is recorded in an overarching, non-touchable repository. So you can see here in the document management, you can see a publish log. So again, you have the traceability or the certainty. And I'm sure some of you have gone home at night, gone home from your office, or maybe issued something to a site and then gone, hang on a second, did I issue the right ones? Do these people have the right files? How do I know? When you get home, you can jump on your iPad, jump into the log, and you can go and have a look at the package you sent and then be certain that the information that you packaged up is actually the correct set, that the consumption is correct. Again, the transparency and the movement of these documents is not the case. They are staying in the one place and they are being managed from a single source of truth, which then imparts certainty to the whole process. I'm going to quickly move through this because it's not as relevant. This is just the front end of the design process for cloud sharing. I'm not going to dwell on that at all, but I am going to go through and mention how the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Now, we're talking about general contractor workflow, we're talking about site crews, and we're talking about engaging a whole ecosystem, which is the BIM360 platform, along with all of our partners who are now starting to build third-party solutions that bolt into our data sets, connect to our data sets, and provide additional functionality that can leverage and use either the drawings or any of the other tracking, photographic, people movement, Assemble, for example, being our product for quantification, Insight VR on the right-hand side there for the new workflows for being able to engage 3D models inside of Google, 3D devices and other third-party viewing kits. So we're talking at the moment about a full integrated platform. What I'm about to show you is underpinned by Forge. It's underpinned, as I've mentioned, by a common data environment, and we're going to do task-related quality forms, project management planning, and insight from the data that we put in play. So specifically in our case of what we'll show next, I'll show you the live platform, and I'll walk you through some of the top level issues around what that information looks like specifically for build. And again, Forge then allows you to connect out to site labour, to now a costing base. So you can integrate it with things like weather services. You can connect it to existing SharePoint systems. You can push and pull. And we have many examples of clients who have existing setups where they have taken and harmonized existing softwares into play with our Forge partners. And there are more and more applications appearing on a week by week, month by month basis into our app store, and I'll digress shortly and show you that as well. That is in fact the walkthrough presentation. What I'll do now is I'll minimize this out of the way, and I'll take you into the platform itself, and I'll do a specific recapitulate on what's actually on the platform in terms of reviewing from build. So if we go back to the live platform itself, we're talking specifically about field management. So that is invariably the build element of the product, fundamentally going to provide us with a tool set that is focused at field management. And as you saw in the PowerPoint that I've just presented to you, we have checklists, we have issues, and we have templates. Something that's been added just recently is has just come up and told me, daily labor logs for our repeating and copying from previous, and also putting in place permissions for those people who can actually fill out these daily logs. So in this case here, you can see I've got an ability to go back and grab the weather. So I can grab today's information. I can add the fact that here where I am in Brisbane, it's, oops, daisy, excuse me. It's sunny. Oh, goodness me. So I have the ability to come in and now add labour, workers. So if I go through and add a landscape contractor, I can add details to here of the fact that they're on site. I can write, they might be front lawns, for example, and then I can ultimately publish this log up. I can add site photos of specific events, or truck movement, or blockages, or whatever I need as a repository, and I can hold it in progress during the day. And as you can see, this is for Thursday, but I can also go back and revisit. So yesterday, for example, we had, again, no site issues, all clear. We had 3 workers. We had some notes. They were working on the front landscape, and some of my colleagues were what they were doing. They were trying to add value. So the daily logs now is permissioned, and it's also a great way to track, those logical activities that happen, at the gate, and again, if you've got someone on the gate taking photographs of truck movements, these can all be added to the rich story that you do for the quality and for the safety part of it. Again, the checklist, we're just going to run through these. You can see what I was referring to before is I can look at the safety focused ones. I can filter them out. So I can see that when they're scheduled, I can see the location on the site that they were actually allocated to. But most importantly, they come from this rich template. So I now have a pro forma, which I showed you earlier, where I imported a spreadsheet, filled out and created. So these checklists are good to go now. And this site safety clean I showed you, we can instance that back into the project. So I have here the ability to do this copying, so I can build from one to another, or I can create a checklist. Now what I'm doing is instancing this checklist into play. So I'll give it a new name and just give it to, say, the 18th of the 7th. On the right hand side here, I'm going to pick either a particular person to assign it to or a particular company. So you can see in our case of my colleagues here, we're all bundled into Autodesk ANZ. Equally, it could be a contractor, it could be a specific landscape contractor, as you saw before. So once I'm assigning it to Adam, I can, by virtue of the fact that I've broken down in the back end different locations on the site, so we know it's in site area A that he's got to do it. And again, I can edit that if I need to. I need it done by tomorrow, and it's just a visual inspection. So now this is ready to go, and he can pick it up on a mobile device like you saw in my previous little video portion before. This can be now actioned on site, and when that action comes through, they can make or record an issue against it, they can add notes, and they can equally take photos from their mobile devices. Now, this is particularly advantaged on devices like iPhones and Android phones because it's compact. There's a camera built into the whole system, which allows you to then record and capture data and put it up onto the site. So with the templates themselves, as I earlier suggested, they come from the account admin at the top. So for my particular project here, you'll see I have all of the access to the projects. What I'm going to see here is that if I go back one more step at the account admin, I'm going to go back to the field management level, which is for build. And this is where I get access to my quality management system and my field management to create a rich data set of templates, which I then decide that I would like to use. So in again here, if I look at this site safety clean that we've been leveraging during the webinar, it's used in one project and there's 2 items on it. Now, if I go to create a new template, I have a full open environment in which to do this. So I might do, truck delivery, right? So I can give basic info for site arrival, and this can be, we'll call it a safety or a quality one. Let's pick on quality. So you can see here I have an ability to go through and actually assign punch lists or quality lists as I see fit. Once I've got that in play, I can use some triggers about signatures and checklist completion. So I'll just move, for the sake of time, I'll move to the next. I won't go through this in great detail. I'm running out of time very quickly because we were late to start. I have the ability to then add a pro forma multiple choice tick box type text where questions and answers can be written, or as I mentioned earlier, they can be taken from a spreadsheet that you might write up initially to capture all this from existing workflows that you may have within your business. So there's a lot of flexibility in this templating section. Once I'm done with that, going back to the project, as you saw before, the project reports these field management activities, and I can go back and find all of the safety issues which are currently not started. And this is the beginning of me looking at what's happening on the site, which then segues across to the last portion, which is the insight panels. So once we get context of tracking and making safety documentation and starting to issue it to the field, we then come back to what is a risk-focused or a quality or a safety-focused dashboard, which is customizable, which is our insight. So reflecting back to what I showed you in the PowerPoint, this is now measuring. So this is now taking activities and reporting. So if we go back to our safety dashboard, we're starting to build out a whole range of issues that we can put together for others to consume. So we've got issues around subcontractor risk, and again we've got the customization of how we would configure from a whole range of different variables that we may wish to put on these pages. And this loosely equates to, for those people that have used SharePoint or prepared anything in Microsoft Teams, these data cards loosely reflect the ability for you to put together your own pages in say something like SharePoint. So you can see here there's a vast coverage of different ones, and importantly all our partner cards are there as well. So I reflected before I was going to show you quickly the integrations. On the account level, we have a series of third-party applications that are provided by other vendors that now bolt to our platform for scheduling and productivity, for field management, for capturing photographs. So it's a very scalable, very malleable platform, which then is integrated back to this data card site where you can actually look at all of the specific issues related to the product. Now, this is a dashboard that I put together. This one happens to have some drawings on it, and it also has some third-party stuff on it. How are we going for time? We'll probably have to wrap up shortly. So here you see one of our partners, smartvid.io, being able to bring through a URL and bring live data that they're feeding back from site into this environment and combining that with the two drawings. Excuse the fact that these are just fairly simplistic drawings, but the idea is what you need to capture rather than the... So you can see here I've got a dashboard on quality, and I've got an engagement with some markups. And again, I can put this in the hand of someone on site, or I can put it in the hand of a general manager who equally can engage the model without any sort of third-party software to do that. Separate off the levels, isolate what the issues were so I can track on the issues and actually find and articulate what that actually was at the time. So there's a very, very rich story about connecting this data. So with that, I think we're going to run out of time, and hopefully what I've shared with you today has been of high value to you. And if you wish to do follow-up, there are some connections on the original webinar invitation you would have been given, but you can also visit Autodesk BIM360. The BIM360 Hub has a rich solution set in it, which explains in much broader context than what I've been able to do with the small amount of time today, all of the solutions that we offer across the BIM360 platform. And remembering today we were just talking specifically around BIM360 Build and the work specifically that's targeted in construction, quality and safety. So with that, I thank you for your attendance. I appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your day to listen to what we have to offer. I wish you all the success in your project delivery, and I would encourage you to reach out and seek further information in the future from us and from our channel partners across Australia and New Zealand. I suppose I should open it up for some Q&A if there's anybody that wants to have any questions, you want to type out your questions, I'm happy to see if there's anybody who wants to raise anything that if that's not the case, I'll close off the webinar and we'll finish up. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. So again, thank you for your time today, and I wish you a pleasant afternoon, and hopefully you would go and have a look at the BIM360 site, the BIM360 Hub, and learn a whole lot more from what we've got to offer. Okay, thank you very much.